Stars who were the envy of their generation, not only having the time of their lives, but making fortunes along the way. Yet in Jackie Wilson's case, Bob Brown found a different story.
Shortly before Wilson's collapse in 1975, Nat Tarnopol and other Brunswick record executives were indicted for tax evasion and mail fraud in a bribery and payola scandal.
Wilson was the soul of modern R&B, known to the world as Mr. Excitement, a stage legend whose voice could set entire concert halls on fire and whose iconic spins were mimicked by both Elvis and Michael Jackson. But few know that behind the glamour was a shattered life, a soul drained by betrayal, addiction, and heartbreaking loss. No one could explain how a musical genius ended up dying broke, legally voiceless, and trapped in a semi-coma for nearly a decade without a single cent in royalties. But that's not even the most haunting part. Have you ever heard of the Southfield mansion? A 5,000-square-foot estate on the outskirts of Detroit, once a dazzling symbol of Jackie's triumph, now a decaying ruin, shrouded in rumors and hiding one mysterious safe. From silenced lawsuits and the unexplained deaths of 3 of his children to eerie sounds that some say still echo from the abandoned halls, everything seems to point toward a story that's never been fully told. The real question is, what secret did Jackie Wilson take to the grave? And that hidden safe? Could it hold a truth powerful enough to shake the legacy of an icon? Join us in today's video as we uncover the untold darkness behind Mr. Excitement, a stage angel who may have lived his entire life in hell. They say a home is where we place our dreams. But for Jackie Wilson, the Southfield mansion wasn't just a dream realized, it became the very place where all his lights slowly came undone. Summer 1959. Detroit lit up with the rise of a young black star, Jackie Wilson, better known to the public as Mr. Excitement. At just 25, he had already reached the peak of fame with the explosive hit, Lonely Teardrops, shaking up America's music scene. In an era when racial segregation still burned like wildfire, the rise of a black man to national superstardom wasn't just a personal triumph, it was a quiet revolution. And Jackie, with that radiant smile and a voice like a storm, chose to mark this achievement with a promise: to build a beautiful house for his mother, Eliza May, after all the years she had spent raising him alone in the impoverished streets of Highland Park. On June 1, 1959, Jackie Wilson officially signed the contract to purchase a mansion at 17600 Mount Vernon Street in Southfield, Michigan, for an estimated $80,000 to $100,000, an enormous amount at the time, the equivalent of nearly $1 million today. Southfield was then a wealthy, predominantly white suburb, quiet, exclusive, and far from welcoming to a black family. But Jackie, at the height of his fame, bought the mansion outright like a thunderous declaration. The estate spanned over 6,500 square feet and was styled in elegant European Art Deco, meticulously designed like a work of art. The ceiling was lined with stained glass imported from France, casting purple, green, and red hues onto the cool marble floors like a private light show within the home. The walls were wrapped in deep red leather with brass-trimmed carvings, giving the space a sense of opulence veiled in mystery. In the living room sat a jet-black Steinway piano, positioned beneath a large portrait of his mother in a dark wood frame, hung just above a pristine white marble fireplace. The home had 5 bedrooms, each a private sanctuary with built-in wardrobes, their own fireplaces, and balconies overlooking the rear garden, where Jackie had planted a neat row of elm trees. The floors were laid with Cuban mahogany, accented with dimmed brass mirrors and soft gold-plated doorknobs. In the dining room, a crystal chandelier imported from Italy hung overhead, each fixture weighing nearly 45 pounds, casting a light so dazzling it felt as if time had stopped. Rumor had it that Jackie reserved a west-facing room on the 2nd floor for his mother, but she never spent a single night there. Downstairs lay the most secretive part of the estate, a private recording studio, soundproofed with 3 layers, lined with oak and black velvet, and sealed behind a triple-locked door. No record label was ever allowed inside. No journalist ever got close. Only Jackie, and perhaps a few unseen spirits, ever stood inside that room. Frida Hood, Jackie's first wife and his financial manager, initially opposed the idea of taking out a bank loan, especially under the oversight of his manager, Nat Tarnopol. But Jackie stood firm. "This is for my mother," he insisted, "and it's where our kids will grow up." To him, the Southfield mansion wasn't just a home. It was a statement. A living monument that proved a poor black boy could have it all. On move-in day, Jackie stood in the grand hall, holding a broken piano key from his childhood, and placed it just beneath his mother's portrait. He whispered, "Mama, I did it." From 1959 to 1961, the mansion became the backdrop for quiet, exclusive parties. Sam Cooke, Berry Gordy, even Elvis Presley were said to have visited. Demos never released to the public were written, tested, and recorded in the basement studio. But the studio door always remained closed. Only Jackie knew the combination to the safe hidden behind the oak-paneled wall. Rumors say it contained "My Boy, My Light," a song later written for his son, Jackie Jr., with haunting, accusatory lyrics that might hold terrifying secrets about his life. Today, the Southfield mansion has stood abandoned for decades. Its once vibrant stained glass ceiling is now mostly shattered. Weeds grow taller than the windows, and vines strangle the front gate, almost swallowing the entrance whole. Inside, the fireplace is cracked, leather walls are peeling, revealing moldy, crumbling bricks beneath. The grand piano still sits there. And Eliza May's portrait? Still above the fireplace, the frame now blackened with time, but her painted eyes still stare toward the staircase, like a silent guardian of secrets never told. Although the house isn't officially barricaded, almost no one dares go inside. Neighbors say a few curious teenagers have tried sneaking in at night, but all of them left without a word. Some say the front door is always slightly ajar, but every time someone reaches for the doorknob, their hand trembles inexplicably. And the basement, believed to still house the recording studio and the mysterious safe, remains locked. No one has the key, and no one has ever dared break in. This mansion was once the dream realized for millions of Black Americans, a quiet declaration that a kid raised in the back alleys of Highland Park could reach the very top. But perhaps even Jackie didn't know that this house would become the silent witness to a series of tragedies so chilling no one could stop them. And no one dares speak of them. To truly understand what planted the first seeds of that long, devastating downfall, we must go back in time, to the dark, fragile childhood of Jackie Wilson, where the first cracks quietly began to form. To truly understand what planted the first seeds of that long, devastating downfall, we must go back in time, to the dark, fragile childhood of Jackie Wilson, where the first cracks quietly began to form. Detroit in the 1930s was a place where the American dream lay buried under coal dust and grease. In a cramped, dimly lit apartment in Highland Park, the city's poorest, most crowded working-class enclave, Jackie Wilson let out his first cry on a summer day in June 1934. He was the only child of a family with nothing but exhaustion, a father, a drunk, jobless, and often absent, a mother who scrubbed floors by day and sang gospel in church to keep her son alive. Their home sat deep in a filthy alley, its walls peeling, wooden floors creaking, the damp stench of mold seeping into every sleep. But at night, when his father was too drunk to stumble home, Jackie was lulled to sleep by his mother's sad yet tender hymns. In those quiet moments, a spark of musical passion began to stir within the boy. But Detroit waited for no one to grow up. By 9, Jackie knew the bitter sting of liquor and the torment of poverty. He quit school early, falling in with a street gang called the Shakers. His teenage years slid into violence and petty theft. Twice, he was hauled off to the Lansing Juvenile Detention Center, once in the summer of 1948, again in early 1949, leaving behind memories as cold and silent as if a 13-year-old's life had been choked out before it began. Then, on a July afternoon in 1945, at just 11 years old, Jackie found an old piano in the abandoned storage shed of a local church. A clumsy first melody came to life, and decades later, that tune would echo in the iconic Lonely Teardrops. A broken piano key from that day stayed with him, later placed with reverence in the Southfield mansion as a reminder of where it all began. In 1946, Jackie won a golden belt in an amateur boxing match. But when he came home, his mother, instead of celebrating, fell silent for a long time. In that silence, he realized fists couldn't carve a way out of his life. A boxing coach, a friend of his mother's, took Jackie to a local music club where he performed for a crowd for the first time. His voice, powerful, raw, and achingly real, captivated listeners from the very first note. It all felt fated. After barefoot treks through Detroit snow, after winter nights singing hoarsely on street corners and market stalls, on March 1, 1953, 18-year-old Jackie was pointed out by Billy Ward, leader of the Dominoes, and called into the recording studio. Truth be told, that chance nearly slipped through his fingers. Clyde McPhatter, the group's legendary voice, had just left to start his own band. Billy wanted someone new, not a mimic. He wanted something that burns from the gut. One night, passing by Club Paradise in Detroit, where Jackie was filling in for a no-show performer, Billy froze. It wasn't just the voice, it was how Jackie wailed, as if shattering an invisible door between himself and a world steeped in prejudice. A week later, Jackie stood among the Dominoes in RCA's studio, singing "You Can't Keep a Good Man Down." Within the first few bars, the sound engineer nodded in approval. Jackie recorded just 2 singles with the Dominoes. But in that brief time, he learned to command a stage, to channel energy through every dance move. By 1957, when the door to a solo career opened with Reet Petite, co-written with Berry Gordy, Jackie was no longer anyone's shadow. He blazed like a fire, and the stage was his fuel. Success crashed in like a tidal wave, sweeping away the past. But deep in his heart, Jackie always knew it was those desperate years, that moldy house, the broken piano, and the dusty street corners that had raised him. So, when he bought the Southfield mansion in 1959, he wasn't just building a grand home, he was reclaiming a dream stolen in childhood. Only great dreams often carry nightmares no one sees coming. Before he became the star chased by every major stage in America, Jackie Wilson was a young man full of dreams and a longing for love. In Highland Park, he met Frida Hood in the fall of 1951 when they were still classmates, crossing paths each morning at the bus stop. Their bond started with small talk, growing into the one anchor that made him feel he had a place to return to. They married in 1953, just as Jackie joined the Dominoes. From then on, he sang across the country, while Frida stayed in Detroit, raising their children alone, holding the house together, living on faith in her husband's rising fame. 4 years later, as his solo career exploded, Jackie bought the Southfield mansion, a quiet 2-story home in the suburbs where he believed happiness would have room to grow. In its early years, that place was truly a haven filled with laughter. Frida was mother, housekeeper, and the only constant for the kids when their father was away. She rose early to cook, laying out clothes for each one. Jackie Jr., about 6, Sandra, 4, Jacqueline, just starting kindergarten, and little Thor, still clinging to her hand whenever Jackie left. When her husband returned from tours, Frida always had a towel ready, a meal warmed in a ceramic pot, while the kids eagerly showed off drawings, grades, or just a scribbled note saying, "Dad." But distance began to creep in. The shows stretched on, the trips grew longer, and Frida's silence became a void no one could touch. Jackie started to change. He stepped out of the cozy kitchen where Frida waited with dinner into another world. Spotlights, music, whispers behind the curtains. Few knew that in February 1961, at the peak of his fame, Jackie Wilson nearly died at the hands of a gangster's lover. One night at the Manhattan Towers Hotel, during a break between tour dates, Juanita Jones, a woman who brought wild nights and danger, pulled a gun and shot him in the stomach. The bullet tore through his liver and Jackie collapsed, bleeding heavily. A 5-hour surgery saved him, but it cost part of his intestines. Strangely, he didn't sue, didn't seek revenge, didn't talk to the press. He quietly returned to the stage after 3 months. When his manager asked why he didn't make a fuss, Jackie said, "I'm scared they'll remember me for the shooting, not the songs." But that was the first night the public noticed. The light in Jackie's eyes was no longer whole. Yet she wasn't the only shadow behind his curtain. Harlan, a young woman he met in Chicago, beautiful, bold, and utterly captivating, swept away the family man. From 1962, he lived two lives at once. On one side was Frida, the quiet wife holding on to what remained of their family. On the other was Harlan, a passionate whirlwind ready to pull him beyond all limits. Frida eventually found out. But instead of rage or blame, she packed her things one March morning and left Southfield without a sound. In May 1965, the divorce was final. She left the kids in the mansion and returned often to check on them. 2 years later, Jackie married Harleen and brought her to live there, not as a replacement, but as a new chapter opened too hastily. The mansion's air shifted from the very first days. What was once a home for children and the smell of evening meals became a space for parties. Harlan brought wealthy friends, artists, models, expensive foreign liquor, music blaring all night, and chandeliers that never dimmed. The dining table vanished, replaced by a crystal bar and massive speakers. Jackie was no longer the master, but a lost soul drifting among the things he'd bought to dream of a different life. Then, one day in mid-August 1969, the dream shattered in a way no one foresaw. Jackie Jr., his eldest son, 16, was shot dead in a brawl in Detroit. He'd lived in the Southfield mansion, slept in the upstairs room, rode his bike home from school, parked it in the backyard corner. No one knew that days earlier, Jackie had found a threatening letter hidden in the living room, warning of a $50,000 debt tied to manager Nat Tarnopol and a Detroit gang. That night, as police arrived, Jackie sat dazed at the top of the stairs. The next morning, he walked into the studio, smashed the Steinway piano, then turned on the recording system and sang. He recorded a song called "My Boy, My Light," raw, choked, anguished. When it was done, he locked the tape in the safe, taping a note to it. "Don't open unless you're ready to hear what no one wants to know." From then on, the studio stayed sealed for 3 years. That door didn't just hide a recording, it buried a piece of Jackie's soul. From 1970, he sank deep into hard liquor and drugs. One summer night in 1972, he was found unconscious in the mansion's bedroom, next to a strip of pills and an unfinished glass of whiskey. Nat Tarnopol covered it up, as if fame mattered more than life. And Jackie, every night after, stood long under the dim light of the grand hall, where his mother's portrait hung. Some nights, the lights flickered endlessly, though no one touched the switch, like a reproach from beyond. His 2 daughters, Sandra and Jacqueline, lived quietly in the mansion like shadows. Sandra had always had a weak heart. On March 10, 1977, that heart stopped at 24. When the news came, Jackie was in a coma in the hospital after a stroke. He never knew. No farewell. No one called him Dad again. Only Thor, the youngest, remained, silently living in the husk of the mansion. He kept an old brass key. No one knew what it opened, but Thor knew it once led to a door locked since the day Jackie Jr. died, the door to the dusty studio holding an unheard recording and unspoken pain. From a place once filled with children's laughter and early recording sessions, Southfield slowly became a hollow shell of excess. Jackie controlled nothing anymore. Harlan was still beautiful, still partying, but whenever he sat silently in the living room at night, all that remained was the slow pour of whiskey, dim light, and a chill running down his spine. No one spoke of Frida, but every time he passed the old family photo in the hallway, Jackie paused. His gaze wasn't nostalgia. It was as if he were trying to hear something buried deep beneath the paint. Yet Jackie never knew the root of all this pain came from the one closest to him, manager Nat Tarnopol. His friend, the one who signed every contract, was also the one dismantling everything Jackie had built. Through the 1960s, Jackie kept no contract copies, managed no personal accounts, knew nothing of taxes. Nat handled it all. In 1964, the IRS dropped a bombshell that shook the music world. Jackie owed $378,000 in unpaid taxes. Part was negligence, part was shady deals Nat signed in his name. Assets were frozen, the Detroit house was seized, and piece by piece, the Southfield mansion's contents vanished. Jackie never publicly badmouthed Nat, but once, in a notebook found after his death, a scrawled line read, "I was stripped bare by the one I called brother." The Southfield mansion, once a symbol of escaping poverty, now held the full weight of his downfall in life and spirit. Everything cracked, bit by bit, and Jackie, who'd built it with fame and ambition, was the last one left in the ruins he once called home. It seemed like nothing could get worse, but the storms in Jackie Wilson's life were far from over. In late September 1975, as the East Coast weather began to turn cold, Jackie had a special show scheduled at the Latin Casino in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It was his first time back on stage in months, following a series of personal shocks. But during the climactic high note of "Lonely Teardrops," Jackie suddenly collapsed. His head hit the stage floor hard, right in front of hundreds of stunned spectators. Cornell Gunter of the Coasters rushed to help, but nothing worked. Jackie was rushed to the hospital in a deep coma, the result of severe brain oxygen deprivation. He would never fully wake again. From then on, Jackie lived in a semi-vegetative state at the Medford Lease nursing home in New Jersey. He couldn't speak, couldn't walk, only offered vague responses when music played. Elvis Presley, who once called Jackie his inspiration, quietly paid all of his medical bills starting in 1976. But aside from Elvis, no one mentioned Jackie Wilson anymore. He was forgotten by the very era he once lit up. While Jackie faded into shadow across the country, his second wife, Harlan, remained in Southfield. She didn't leave right away. She just kept living in that house that once held laughter, then parties, and finally, unspeakable guilt and sorrow. In 1978, Harlan became Jackie's legal guardian. No one knows what she felt when signing those papers. Some said it was for money. Others said it was guilt. But one thing was certain. During the years Jackie lay comatose, she was the last one left living in the house called Southfield. And then, one by one, the items in the house vanished. On June 15, 1980, the magnificent stained glass ceiling in the grand foyer was taken down and sold to a collector in Chicago. Harlan signed the receipt. A week later, she changed the lock to the recording studio. No one asked why. No one dared. Rumors swirled that she knew the combination to the safe in the studio's corner, the same one where Jackie had locked away the tape of "My Boy, My Light" after Jackie Jr.'s death. But she never touched it. She stood in front of that door many times, sometimes for hours, hand on the doorknob, eyes fixed on a peeling corner of the wall as if listening for something behind it. By 1980, after years of financial decay, the roof of the mansion began to rot. Rain leaked through the foyer ceiling, stripping paint from the wall around Jackie's mother's portrait. The decay seemed to signal that something darker was coming. And then, on the morning of January 21, 1984, Jackie Wilson took his final breath at Mount Holly Hospital. He died at 49 from pneumonia, after nearly a decade spent as a fading ghost. His body was returned to Detroit and buried at West Lawn Cemetery in an unmarked grave. Only in May 1985, after fans and Berry Gordy raised enough money, was a proper headstone erected, a final act of kindness for the man once called Mr. Excitement. Though he had long left the spotlight, the ghosts of Jackie Wilson's life weren't done haunting those who remained. On June 14, 1988, Jacqueline, his third daughter, was shot dead in Highland Park at age 37. The incident happened past midnight in an alley behind a crumbling building that once housed a Motown studio. In her pocket, a small bag of white powder and a crumpled piece of paper with the Southfield address. Jacqueline had always been the most withdrawn of Jackie's children. After her mother died in 1999, it emerged that she often snuck back into Southfield at night, through the rusted rear gate, past waist-high weeds, then paused long at the locked recording studio door. When she died, her wallet held only a few dollars, an old photo of the Wilson family from 1960, and a brass key that fit no lock in Highland Park. police ruled it a drug-related killing. But locals around Southfield believed her death was something else, a curse tied to the mansion's haunted past. And as if fate weren't cruel enough, not long after Jacqueline's death, Harlan, Jackie's second wife, passed quietly in a nursing home in Ohio in August 1992. No family, no will, no one asked about the safe. The stained glass ceiling she once sold in summer 1980 became the last known trace she left connected to Southfield. People who knew her said that in her final years, she often drew floor plans of the mansion, crossing out each room one by one. Only the recording studio was never erased. Both Jacqueline and Harlan died with the secrets of the safe still locked away. And so those mysteries remained within Southfield. After these deaths, Jackie's first wife, Frida, chose to move in with her youngest son, Thor, in a small house on the edge of the woods, nearly 40 miles from Southfield, as if escaping something dangerous. She never let Thor go farther than half a day's distance. Always cooked on time. Always checked the windows before bed. One time, when Thor came home an hour late, she broke down and sobbed, saying, "I can't lose another child." Frida died in 1999, quietly, just as she had lived. Few knew that before passing, she gave Thor the brass key from years ago, an enigma she wished to bury forever. And so, the Southfield mansion, once a dream built to escape poverty, became the place where all hope ended. In the grand foyer, a faded portrait of Jackie's mother. In the studio, a broken piano. And in the locked safe, the tape, "My Boy, My Light." Maybe a legacy, maybe a final confession no one dared to hear. Jackie Wilson's entire life was a sorrowful song disguised beneath bright, high notes. He once touched the summit of fame, only to fall into the abyss of his own spotlight. Shot, betrayed, addicted. 3 children dead in ways no one could ever fully explain. A wife who left. A home repossessed. A career lost to another man's signature. By the end, he had nothing. No money. No rights. No voice. His estate was valued at less than $10,000. Southfield was foreclosed in 1986. His music rights, owned by Brunswick. Perhaps the only treasures he left behind were an unheard tape, a locked safe, and a crumbling house that still stood as if guarding one last confession from a restless soul. But amidst the ruin, Jackie's true legacy rose after death. The voice he left behind still makes the world stop and listen. From Elvis Presley to Michael Jackson, every star borrowed a flicker of his flame. He was honored in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, named among the 100 greatest singers of all time. Forgotten in life, remembered in every echo. In October 2023, the Southfield mansion still stood. The roof caved in. Weeds towered high. But the portrait of Jackie's mother in the foyer, still intact. Locals say that on stormy nights they still hear a voice singing from the basement. "My heart is crying." And in the hallway, a line of graffiti drawn back in 1985 still hasn't faded, a silent angel pointing toward the studio door, where the safe has never been opened. So what's inside that safe? A recording? A confession? A truth that could unravel everything we thought we knew? And if that door opened, would the world be ready? And what about you? If you stood before that safe, would you turn the key or walk away? Leave your thoughts below. Because maybe what Jackie Wilson left behind isn't on that tape. Maybe it's in the hands of someone brave enough to listen. And if you believe this story deserves to be remembered, like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can keep exploring the untold chapters in the lives of Black legends.